Hello, dear ones. Today I'd like to quote a brief passage, a quick paragraph from Yogananda's Autobiography of a Yogi, which I'll just hold up our very used dog-eared copy of it. It has all these little post-it notes flagging different sections and passages for readings and so on. Anyway, this passage, which is the title of this video, comes from chapter 22 in the Autobiography of a Yogi, which is called The Heart of a Stone Image. And it tells the adventure of Yogananda and one of his sisters and her husband visiting Dakshineshwar Temple, which is not far from Calcutta, the Calcutta area where Yogananda grew up. It's another town over from that called, I think it's called Dakshineshwar. So anyway, the passage is Yogananda has had a vision of the Divine Mother, and he's described that vision in very glowing terms. But then he gives us a philosophical and really even a physics-based understanding of the universe. And it's a memorably deep and nuanced paragraph, so I'm just going to read it to you. It's just a few sentences. Spiritual sight, X-ray-like, penetrates into all matter. The divine eye is center everywhere, circumference nowhere. I realized anew, standing there in the sunny courtyard, that when man ceases to be a prodigal child of God, engrossed in a physical world, indeed dream, baseless as a bubble, he re-inherits his eternal realms. If, quote, escapism be a need of man, cramped in his narrow personality, can any escape compare with the majesty of omnipresence? Now, there are whole vistas of implications to this simple paragraph, but I'd like to just pick up a few of them. One of the things that keeps striking me in these weeks and months that have gone by in the year 2020, now it's mid-November, and what we find is that this virus that we've been dealing with really since the beginning of 2020, although we really only kind of came to know about it collectively after 2 or 2.5 months, give or take. We were into March, really, so probably more like 3 months. We've been dealing with it ever since, different times we've been in lockdown or we've self-quarantined, or maybe life has gone on just fine. Maybe for people in very rural areas, they just sort of, that's somebody else's problem. But it's kind of become everybody's problem now as numbers are going higher and higher, rates of infection and so on. And it's, I want to help us understand this, and I have been meditating on this myself during these months. This virus is like a force, and we can resist that force in various ways. We can try to ignore that force at our peril, but it is a force that is directing us. It's obliging us to respond to it. And I submit, and the reason that I connect this issue with what I just read, is that I submit that we are being asked to go into our center, which is not, by the way, just to be very clear, is not to say to become self-centered, unless you put a very definite capital S on that word self, which would imply centered in God, the self, the over self, the large self of the infinite. if we can become centered truly within, then we can relate to and respond to what is happening to us individually and us collectively as a world, as a country, as a world. This has particularly impacted the United States, and I think in the coming weeks and months we will see that impact grow more, because I don't feel that we have really understood it collectively or perhaps taken it seriously so far. And I don't want to get into the reasons why or, why not, etc. We are given choices to make in every day of our lives, and we can fight with those choices. We can say, no, I don't want to choose. But something this significant, I believe, is asking us to go to our center inside and to find our solutions, to find peace in that place, and not to keep looking for it outside. As perhaps most of you will know, and I've addressed this myself in recent videos, this past week was a big election in the United States. And we've lived in other countries, and obviously, we've lived in India for almost 9 years. There are elections. Elections come, elections go. Now, we were foreigners in India. We obviously didn't really have much stake in those elections. We observed them. We were aware of them. We were certainly aware that Indians were very aware of them and that they had implications for their lives. But for us, it was sort of like, whatever, let it come, whatever it may be. But here in America, this was a big one. It was a contentious one. And in a sense, it's still going on. The implications, the repercussions have not entirely sorted themselves out just yet, but they're getting farther along in the process. But it's easy when we look at a political world or a political country, the realities of government, and it isn't even just on a state level or a national level, even a local level. It's also in companies and schools and anywhere that groups of people work together and they try to agree about how are we going to work together. Anywhere you find government, you will find people who are happy with the way things are going. The election went their way, the way they wanted it to go. Oh, yippee, they're dancing in the streets the way it didn't go where they wanted it to go. Oh, they're in the bars, or they're, upset, or they're fuming, or they're wanting to retaliate, or whatever. I submit that a different requirement or a different energy is trying to manifest through us. And I submit that that energy is to stay centered in peace and not keep looking for fulfillment from outside. Because sometimes it comes, yes, outwardly. It's not that we're supposed to never be fulfilled outwardly. Obviously, I hope that's obvious. But to depend on that outward fulfillment is to set ourselves up for disappointment, even when we achieve it to a certain degree, even when the universe responds, even when our, quote, good karma brings us results that we like, that we are pleased by. Because other times it will bring us results that we're displeased by, and then we just find our life going up and down like a roller coaster or a wave. Up and down, and it gets very tedious. It gets very annoying, and it's not productive of the peace that we're looking for. I am just amazed in this. I didn't remember that Yogananda ever used the word escapism. It even was in the vocabulary of someone writing in the 1940s, that word even existed. Now we have people binge watching on, the internet or on TV or whatever. It's like, let's escape. And I submit, if we're going to escape, then let's escape to omnipresence. It seems sort of obvious, but it's like, it's not at all obvious. But it could be. So I will just close by saying, take that paragraph that I read into your meditation and try it on for size. Because that's also physics. Physics is center everywhere, circumference nowhere. It goes all the way into the subatomic particles. It's a universe made of energy. It's a universe made of consciousness that manifests through energy into what we perceive as physical matter. That's deep, deep stuff there. But take it into your meditation and see if you too, if all of us collectively can find our center and find the fulfillment that is within, and that we can then project that peace, project that fulfillment, and offer it to others joyfully, enthusiastically, willingly, lovingly, peacefully. I believe that's a real duty now. It's not just something to sort of, it's like going to church on Sunday. It's a nice thing to do. It makes you feel good, blah, blah, blah. No, I feel that it's a duty to do that in these days, because this could become a very, very challenging winter. So take those words and meditate on them, and God bless you.